guys, what's up? If you're new around here, my name is Hannah Martin. And today we're going to be exploring a bit of a different topic to usual. I'm going to be talking a little bit about my background in rhythmic gymnastics and how different it is to what I do now today, professional classical ballet. I know a lot of you have lots of questions around the differences in the approach and the training and the mentality, so I thought I'd just unpack it in this video. If you don't know much about me, I used to be a rhythmic gymnast. I competed for Great Britain, won over 22 national titles, which still sometimes I can't quite believe that all happened because it just feels like a lifetime ago. I went to the 2018 Commonwealth Games and was a finalist there, which was again an incredible experience and one that I will cherish for my entire life. Competed at Europeans, Worlds, all of that jazz, and I truly loved the sport. Rhythmic gymnastics taught me so much and I'm grateful for it. I feel like it gives me some unique things going into my professional ballet. However, there are some things that it didn't help or didn't teach me that I'll also explore in this video. So there's pros and cons to having this background. There's other ballet dancers like Maria Horova and a few others who have had a background in rhythmic gymnastics but maybe stopped a little bit earlier. I stopped at the age of 16. I'm now 22. I still feel 18, guys. I can't believe I'm 22 years old. That is a topic for a different video. And so I stopped at the age of 16 because I was putting a lot of stress on my family. And then I went and pursued a professional ballet career. But obviously stopping that late, there was lots of things that I noticed. And I guess when you're younger, you might not notice the differences so strongly, but being a bit older, being maybe slightly more aware of how differently the training is and how differently the mentality is, I thought this would be a great time to reflect. If you're not caught up with what's going on in my life right now, I'm currently recovering from osteotrigonum surgery, so I have lots of time to reflect at the moment. I've been watching old videos and it brings all those memories back. Let's get into the actual video, Hannah Martin. So now, being a professional dancer with the Birmingham Royal Ballet for 4 years, I think one of the biggest things when I shifted from rhythmic gymnastics to vocational professional ballet, the speed of how you had to pick things up. To give you some perspective, in rhythmic, generally we have 4 routines: ball, hoop, clubs and ribbon when you're older, sometimes rope if you're a bit younger. Usually you get your routine set for the year and you will have the same routine for the entire season. So you'll practice that routine till it is like you could do it with your eyes closed in your sleep while you're making a pancake. You rarely change the routine. You tweak the routine. Often throughout the year you might add an element here or there, a little bit of extra zhuzh here or an extra bit of difficulty there, but the routine and the basis and the music won't change that much. Training in general, you find, is very routine based. It feels everything is very rehearsed. How the training works usually in my gymnastics club is we would have a rotation of gymnasts who would go on with the music, and one by one we go on with the music, and while you're waiting for your turn you'll be drilling your elements. So you'll do a throw and you'll have to do 5 in a row or try and get 10 throws, and normally I'd have to document exactly how many throws it took for me to get the required number of catches. It gives the coaches a bit of data how consistent things are getting. There was not a lot of new information coming in all the time in terms of you didn't have to learn new movements that often, I found. Maybe it's different in different gymnastics clubs, but for me, this is my personal experience. Ballet, on the other hand, complete opposite. And I also, when I was doing rhythmic gymnastics, was doing ballet, but I was only doing the grades, and you just do the same sequences every time. So you just learn the sequences, you get really good at sequences, and then you perform them. You're not getting fed new information as much because you're just learning this set and getting it into your muscle memory. So I was very good at that by the end of my rhythmic gymnastics career. In ballet, you're learning stuff every day. I remember when I did my first open class and it was like, oh, we're learning every exercise new. I'm gonna have to learn everything on the spot and then perform it perfectly. I couldn't quite got the concept of like, wait, no, I need to be able to drill this about 8 million times before I'm able to perform it at a level that I'm happy at. And I think that has been a journey of like, actually I'm just getting much better at picking steps up now and coordinating them quicker, but also the journey to accept I don't have to have it all figured out and it doesn't actually have to be perfect to be able to perform it with confidence. that is a key one I'm still working on, because you've done the steps so many times, especially if you've done vocational training from the age of 12, they're so in your body that they say a step and it's just like automatically there. I didn't fully understand that concept when I first came to ballet. I was just like, I don't understand how everyone can just like listen and then do like so perfectly. It is muscle memory, but it's a different type of muscle memory where you have like a vocabulary of steps, and then when you're told the sequence, you just pick out from your vocabulary and you piece them together. Unfortunately, when I came to ballet full-time, I didn't have that full vocabulary, so I struggled to pick out of my vocabulary and make it perfect, because for one, you can never be perfect, and two, I felt like I was having to learn the exercise but also learn the steps at the same time. Normally you already know the steps and you just have to learn the sequence. For me, I felt like I was having to multitask and kind of deal with the pressure of feeling like I was catching up. So that was a long-winded way of saying you have to learn much faster. Another thing, again, this is going to be different for every person's experience, but the coaching I found, especially at such elite level, was much more individualized. So when I came to ballet, the concept of having one teacher for 10 to 30 people felt like a lot. We used to do that in like warm-ups and conditioning sessions, but then when we got to the routines, often you would have a personal coach. A personal coach will have maybe 1 to maximum 3 gymnasts at that kind of very elite level. Kind of when I came to ballet, it felt like I was thrown right in the deep end of like, wow, what am I supposed to do? I don't have a coach to kind of guide me every day through this process and decide what's good for me. I actually have to learn and decide what's good for myself. And like, you have to go up and be quite proactive if you're wanting to get direct feedback about a specific thing. So I found that really challenging at first, because I was like, I just want direction. All I need is a bit of direction and then I can work it myself. I'm a good independent worker, but I need to be given a little bit individualized, especially because my situation was a little bit individualized coming to ballet so late. I needed a bit more of that individualized approach, but I soon learned, and now I understand the kind of concept of it so much better, and you actually learn to listen to your body and to what you need and what you need to be ready for performance, which is what you need in the profession, because trust me, no one is going to spoon feed you once you get well into the work. And number 3, this is kind of like a more minute one, and again could be to my personal experience because different places have different rules, but when I was a rhythmic gymnast, I personally wasn't allowed to wear any jewelry of any kind. Now that changes, some people are, some people aren't. But when I came to ballet, especially once I graduated from school, went into the profession, like, I loved getting to explore my personality in jewelry. I didn't even have my ears pierced until I had my first surgery on my foot a couple of years ago, because I just hadn't had time to get them done, and there was no point, because in Rhythmic I could never wear any earrings because they could catch on the ribbon or something. I finally did get my ears pierced, kind of exploring my style through jewelry and how that made me feel more elegant. I think one of the first jewelry brands that really introduced me to this kind of individualized touch of being able to express myself was Luisa. Luisa is a high quality sustainable jewelry brand. Their pieces are super elegant and they really kind of say what I'm trying to express through my movement. I think, you know, an addition of a dangly pair of earrings is the perfect way to kind of really give off that vibe that I'm going for in ballet class, which sounds crazy, but often, you know, it is an aesthetic art form, and I find being able to add those little touches are not completely necessary, but they like add to my feeling of, I always remember my ballet teacher when I was younger, when I was doing grades, talking about having this beautiful necklace on as like lifting your head and your neckline as if you've got this beautiful necklace. And now I'm literally wearing beautiful necklaces every day, and I'm like, I understand now the feeling of what she was talking about. And Luisa is like the perfect gift to get for someone as well. I remember gifting some earrings to someone and them just absolutely loving it. As Christmas is coming up now, there's lots of sales on, so I will link all of Luisa's products and stuff in the description, also the ones I'm kind of showing on the screen in this video. I think a piece of jewelry can really change the way that you feel about yourself, so I think it could be the perfect like kind of seasonal touch. It could be the perfect gift for someone that you really care about. Also, I think some of the like more wintry, silvery, snowflakey vibes are definitely the seasonal touch you might need for your New Year's parties and your Christmas days. So do make sure to check them out. I will link them down in the description below. They last so long. I literally have been wearing this necklace for non-stop 4 or 5 weeks. I don't even know. I think I only took it off for surgery, so I absolutely love it. If you like sparkles, you'll love Luisa because they have loads of beautiful little diamondy. I will link everything in the description down below, including the promo code you can use. Something else in Rhythmic is the fact that, again, I was talking about the way we used to drill things. When I came to ballet, especially in the professional industry, maybe less at school, but in the professional industry, you don't get as much rehearsal. Sometimes, especially if you're new, you'll only get to rehearse the thing in the studio one time if you're lucky. Sometimes you just get one stage run and you're on. Sometimes you don't even get a stage run, very rarely, but sometimes you just have to know what you're doing, and they also are watching you more because you haven't done it so much to see how you're doing, and you feel all this pressure. And I think that was a big shock. I'm used to rehearsing these routines inside out, and now I get one go and then you're on. So I think initially that kind of pressure was quite intense. To be honest, less physically, but more mentally, of like knowing I haven't rehearsed as much as I think I should have, and then having to go and do it and still perform with confidence. But now the more I'm getting used to it, the more I'm like, oh, I've done this before. I know that I'm fine if I haven't done it 50 million times because we've done this before. Experience really changes things for you as a professional dancer, because you have had more situations where you've been in that uncomfortable, under-rehearsed space and still been able to do a good job. So the more you do it, I feel like the more relaxed I get with it. Now, rest is a big thing we talk about in the ballet industry. Not many days off, long days, long hours. In Rhythmic though, I feel like rest was approached even, I'd say my experience, even more harshly. Like, I just remember I wouldn't have weeks off was like, that was a no-go. I think I only remember so I started Rhythmic when I was like intensely when I was 12 till 16, so 4 years of it. I think I only had 2 times where I had more than 1 week off in those 4 years. Apart from the time I was injured where I had to take 6 weeks, but I was back in the gym within 2 weeks to do non-weight bearing stuff, so I was still training, which is not a problem because I love training and I hated taking time off, so that wasn't really an issue for me. But now coming into the ballet sphere, and when we have like 5 weeks off for summer, different ballet companies are different, but that was a shock to the system. The first time I had a 5-week summer, I was like, what do I do with myself? I have never had this much time off. I'm gonna lose everything. I'm gonna lose all the progress I've made if I take time off. And I was freaked out about having any rest. Now, through injury, it has taught me that rest is super important. And obviously rhythmic gymnastics is a very young sport, so maybe, I don't want to say it's healthy, but maybe your body's like just a bit younger and can cope a bit better with not having as much downtime. But it is growing, so it still needs time to develop. But anyhow, resting is becoming more and more important, and learning how to rest well, because it helps you avoid injury and it teaches you a lot about your body. Rest in ballet is becoming more and more evident that it's necessary. So I feel like that is developing in the ballet world quite a lot, and it's a taught practice in schools, and it's talked about in the company, and the need for it is known. Sometimes when things get really busy, like when we have like double show days a lot, the need for it is known, but the actual space for it is difficult, but just because of the schedule. In Rhythmic, I remember once I took over 2 weeks off, and a person said to me that that is unacceptable for a gymnast of my level to ever take 2 weeks off. So that was my promised 2 weeks off after competing at like a world championships, and I never took time off. So then I felt really awful about myself, and it gave me a little bit of trauma around taking time off, which did affect me in my ballet career, because whenever they were like, you need to take time off for your injury, I'm like, I can't, because it's unacceptable. And kind of getting over that mental block took a little while. Lines. So in Rhythmic, the lines are so different to ballet, which I didn't realise so much. You think you need to be flexible for both, but the flexibility in Rhythmic is at like a whole other different range for me personally. Again, this is a British style of ballet. Could be different in, like, I know the Russian style is quite different. My Rhythmic lines coming into ballet were over the top. They were too much. And I think since I stopped rhythmic gymnastics, I have been trying to, which is funny, stiffen up a little bit to be able to achieve the balletic line, especially in British classical ballet, is a little bit lower, and it's all about length. With Rhythmic, sometimes you can see it's a bit squashed, but in ballet, this is my understanding of it. Again, this is a personal thing, so if you think differently, that's also fine. In ballet, it's all about how long can you feel your line, how long can it be. In Rhythmic, it's like, how extreme can it be? Again, this might have changed since I did the sport, but that's definitely how it felt at the time. The more extreme, the more impressive, and if you could control it, then the more beautiful. In ballet, it's about the length and the use the use of your flexibility. Sometimes not using it is showing restraint, and that is also beautiful. So I think that's a really interesting concept that I had to understand, and I'm still learning as I go along, because I do love to whack a leg sometimes. Also, this could be individualized to different rhythmic gymnastics clubs, but I felt like technique in general wasn't as scrutinized as it is in ballet. I feel like if you can do the moves, if you can avoid the deductions, point of the toes, straighten the legs, like make sure you're not cupping the ball, like technique in that way, if it led to a deduction, you would iron it out. But if it didn't lead to a deduction, it didn't really matter. If you're doing the moves and you weren't getting the deductions, then you just carry on, even if the technique is wrong or potentially could be harmful to your body. I know that some of my coaches actually were helping me to not do that, because we didn't want to harm my body. So I at the time I was like, we just need to get the moves done, like who cares about the technique if I'm not getting deductions? But actually they were caring for me and my body. So I very much shout out all the coaches who do that, because that's really important for your gymnast longevity. But in ballet, the technique is basically the dancing. The way that you roll through your foot, like everything is so minute and you can't appreciate it sometimes until you know. Even right now I'm watching like a lot of the Catherine Morgan walkthroughs and how she talks about the very intricate details. And now that I know it and I've been like exposed to it, it makes so much more sense. And you don't even realize that this has been thought about, this has been trained, this has been honed. The fingers, like the eye line, the way that you hold your chin, everything, which I feel in rhythmic maybe some gymnasts do, but it felt very much more focused on the difficulty in the body elements. Another big thing for me was conditioning. When I was a gymnast, I did so much conditioning. I remember on Saturdays I used to come in and 2 hours of the start of the day would just be strengthening exercises, especially because I was so flexible, and in general rhythmic gymnasts are pretty flexible, so it's very difficult to control those limbs, so we do a lot of strengthening exercises. In ballet, I find the stress on the strength and conditioning a lot less. Some dancers don't find it helpful at all and they don't do any. Some dancers do quite a bit, but in general I feel like the strength seems like a +1. If anything is going to go when you're in a busy season, it's going to be a bit of the extra conditioning, because you just don't have time. In rhythmic, like conditioning, if you're in a competition, you would still do like an hour of conditioning just to warm up your body. It would be such an integral part of the training, you couldn't go without it. For a while I found that really difficult, because when I came to ballet, when we did start performing and I didn't have time for the conditioning and my body would be too exhausted to be able to keep it up, I used to feel like I wasn't actually training. So I would say, oh, that was a day off because I didn't do, you know, an hour of conditioning, and I actually did 2 shows in that day. So no, it wasn't a day off. I think I had to get around that concept of like conditioning is the only way to improving, and I have to do conditioning, otherwise the day doesn't count. It sounds weird, but that was like the way I was conditioned to think, because it was such an important part of my training as a rhythmic gymnast. Now I've got a better relationship with conditioning. I realise how it can help me, but I also realise that like ballet itself is a conditioning exercise. Like class, the way that we do the bar, you are sweating, your muscles are working so hard. That is conditioning in some way. Another big thing is when you are training in rhythmic, you're often training up to a competition. Like you will sometimes push harder in a certain season of time just to be able to reach a certain level for a competition. Now you do the same with shows, especially if you're doing like a main role or something, but I find with ballet you have to kind of be in really good shape all year round, because you have performances all the time. There's no kind of let off. Sometimes when we did a competition, we do the big competition, we'd have build up competitions to that competition, we do the big one, and then you like get a little bit of a breather. You just have a moment to be like, okay, I don't need to be on my best form like right at this moment. We are peaking for this certain event. There's actually so many more things I could say. I didn't realize how many points I had to talk about in this video. But if you guys do want another video on kind of talking even more differences about rhythmic and ballet, then please let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and if you did get to the end of all my chatting, comment this emoji. Make sure to check out Luisa, because they are great and they are perfect for this time of year. If you're thinking about gift giving and Christmas, they are definitely the perfect gift for anyone. Also, make sure to join my email list, because I am sending out kind of little encouraging messages and motivational little quotes and stuff every week. So you want to be part of that community. It is completely free. Just click the link in the description. I'll see you very soon in my next video. Make sure to dream big and make it happen.